This is the Chicago World's Fair, 1893. And they had a World's Fair in Europe, in France, and they wanted to duplicate it in the United States. Because 27 million people attended the 1/4 of all Americans by horse and buggy attended the 1893 Chicago Columbian Exposition to celebrate Columbus's arrival in the New World, which Columbus was such a great mariner. He sailed the wrong way and he thought he was in India, and that's why we called them Indians. Official story. 27 million people come. 6 months later, the entire 690 acres is destroyed in Chicago. Remember the Chicago Fire, 1871? So they had the Great Chicago Fire in 1871. In 1893, they're having the Columbian Exhibition. And then that's 65,000 exhibits on 690 acres destroyed by fire. We see fire everywhere. The fire is one of their great exterminators. Maybe they were using the resonance frequencies in the buildings to turn them and vibrate them to cause the fires, whatnot. But we see over and over again. But these guys had fun. I mean, these were massive buildings. In not only, look at the Ferris wheels, Charlie. Yeah. They had houses. Hey, literally, look at these. What kind of engineering would it take today to be able to do that? They had balloon rides. They had the slides that went down. They had this walkway that went around. I mean, it was amazing. This is the public library.
Well, Jamie, let me stop you here. Do you think that this architecture in this exposition and all the others was pre-existing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. No, they just took it over.
Yeah.
They just took it over and put new paint on it and put a new story on it.
Right.
But it's still, the remnants are still there. And then this is what we get into, is separating the parents from the children. Very curious. These Nemo Primo babies were in exhibit halls up until 1940. They had infant incubators on display at the World Fairs. Why? Because they were getting rid of the children. They had these incubators where they showed them, and you could literally come and grab a baby out of these incubators and take them home. That's why they were there. And then the light shows, the energy, the Tesla and Edison were buddies. That's why I say the Tesla's another fictitious character, or possibly. Because they put on these light shows and all these exhibitions and lit up these places together. They had they said they were opposition when they're not. And here's the button on May Day, 1893, that Grover turned on to turn on the power that ran the beacons, lit up all the buildings at night. I mean, when did we get the incandescent lamp? When did Benjamin Franklin fly the kite that had the key on it to discover lightning? I mean, these are all such bullshit stories. Oh, Benjamin Franklin was flying a kite and it had a key on it and lightning and discovered electricity. Columbus sailed the wrong way and found India. Called them Indians. Hey. It's just so baloney. But then you see Tesla and Edison. They're in these energy centers right here, electric power. They're polyphase. They were in it together. No, they had all the stuff. Look at these lamps. I mean, these machines. These are fans. Look at these alternating current generators they had. How did they build them? And then the exhibition centers all lit up, same designs all over the world. St. Louis flew the first wireless telephone, early fax machine, automobile, airplane. So they introduce it through these fairs, and then they destroy the technology, they destroy the knowledge. How did they bring these all over the world? How they communicate with them? This is Sioux City, Iowa, the Corn Palace, Charlie. Look at this.
I've been there.
Palaces. Amazing. For grain? To store grain?
Right.
Come on.
Right.
Anyway, they had fun. This is Coney Island had several different versions. I mean, you get into Coney Island exhibitions. Anyway, so again, we see it destroyed by fire, 1970, 1958. So when you say, yeah, they started in 1200, or I'm saying that, yeah, but they continued up until recently. Not the destruction of the people as much as it is, because there's still Tartarians that live in Russia and whatnot, but the destruction of all the buildings, destruction of the magnificence, the opulence, the elegance, the simplicity, the fun was all destroyed by fires and earthquakes and mud floods, which we'll get into now. So construction, destruction, World's Fair, you can see it being destroyed right after it was done. The Great Fires, boom, take it down. Knowledge is what we tell you. And this is the western capital of Tartary, was San Francisco. Here you see the Cliff Hotel, which I've been to many times, literally on a cliff. How did they build those buildings in 1894 on a cliff? Oh, destroyed by fire. The bathhouses, largest indoor swimming, 1896. Remember, 1849, they came again. Got to keep reminding, came over with bug wagon 1849 to find gold. Well, here you see these Sutro towers that had 517 dressing rooms, 25,000 bathers. There was a train that ran out there. It's on the coast of San Francisco. Ran from the city. Look at this place. It was a place to go swimming. And they brought in fresh water and ocean water. They bring in the ocean water desalination plants, and they could all go swimming. I mean, it was elegant. It was beautiful. And then in 1894 in San Francisco, I grew up here. I didn't know any of this shit. 1894, they had the Midwinter International Exposition. 1894, they had 47-story tall buildings. And that's what now is called Golden Gate Park. And look at this guy. They had to do routing a ball all the way through here. These buildings are massive. And they had the lit towers. And in 1915 in San Francisco, they had 18 million visitors. Again, how did they get there? 18 million visitors. Oh, again, this is 1915, Charlie. What year was the 1906 earthquake? 1906. Yeah. So 9 years later, they're hosting 18 million visitors after the great earthquake that destroyed all of San Francisco. And they, over 600 acres, they put on this incredible World's Fair, the 13th labor of Hercules, they called it. Oh, because we're rebuilding from the earthquake, we're going to put on a World Fair. Are you kidding me? Thomas Edison and Henry Ford had a manufacturing plant. They had the Liberty Bell was taken cross country, horse and buggy. They had this 48 light, 48 story, I should say, 7-color San Francisco fog banks. They lit up the fog at night. They had the Marines out there. This crown jewel, 47-story building with thousands of jewels, 102,000 precious stones in them. And then they had a plane that flew inside the building of Henry Ford's car construction. The guy flew a plane at 45 miles an hour inside the frickin' building at 40 miles per hour in 1915. They just got the plane flying a few years ago. We're right. Come on. Now we're flying inside of buildings in San Francisco. Yay. Again, it just makes no sense. But I get into the whole layout, the Japanese gardens, the Eskimos that came down. They brought people from all over the world to light up the cities for San Francisco. And then this is the Trail of Tears. This is when they got rid of the Tartarians with the Trail of Tears through the Louisiana Purchase and taking over their lands. Right. And this is celebrating the end of the trail, the desecration of the Tartarians with this image right here. This symbology of the Indian, which is really the Blackmoors, which is really the Washitas, were the destruction of them. And so we get over and over these lights and lighting and everything. Like this elegant, San Diego, exact same year, 1915, had their own exhibitions. Look at these Buddha statues. I mean, these things are incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible buildings in 1915. Oh, by the way, San Diego's having at the same time another Panama exec, because we got to celebrate the Panama Canal opening up. No, it was already there.
Right.
Again, just blowing smoke. And look at this. They're talking about organs. Look at this organ. All-year exhibition in San Diego in 1915. Elegant, because it was all about frequencies, healing frequencies. Down in Santa Cruz, off the coast down here. Elegant designs on the coast. I mean, just massive. And then getting into the destruction. All right, so children for sale. So this started back in 1853 to 1929. 250,000 people from the New York East Coast were sent to the Midwest. Irish, whites, not just African blacks, white children. Where did they come from? Where did 250,000 children come from in 50, 60 years to be deported and sold off as slaves from Grand Central Station and others? They were sold. We have posters of them. Hey, children for sale. All right. And then the origins were these foundling homes. They call them foundling hospitals. These are children's foundling hospitals. This is how they got rid of the children. They put them in these foundling homes. Look at 1846, 1742, foundlings, the orphan trains. Children were put on trains all across the priests. Line up the children, 200 plus children, sold. Here's advertisements. Children wanted to work the farms, to build out the Midwest after the floods had taken out and receded. They were building out the Midwest, so they needed children for manual labor. And then this is all across the world. This is what they used to have. Now, it was such a big deal. They had an ATM machine for children. It's called foundling wheels. And they literally had like a lazy Susan where inside you'd home, you put the child and you rotate it to the outside, and then the Catholic nurses would come and take the children away. So it'd be total anonymity. Why did they give up their children? What was the cause of it? And then they took all the adults and they put them in the insane asylums. If you're in your sanity, does that mean you're insane?
Yeah.
So here we go in London again, 1247. All these insane asylums were built around the world because everybody's crazy. Everybody's crazy, and they built these massive, massive insane asylums. This is the Tartarian buildings they converted to get rid of the Tartarians. I did a whole thing on a little bit further down here about the cemeteries and the crematories that were all over the insane asylums. They all had crematorium, not all of them, but most of them had crematoriums and had, look at these buildings. These are the Kirk brides. These are Danvers State Hospital, Hudson Hospital. So all they did was took the Tartarian buildings, converted them to state hospitals, and put all the ones they want to get rid of in there, and then no one knew. They were all crazy. But they had hundreds and hundreds of these massive buildings all across the United States. This is how they got rid of hundreds of millions, if not billions of people in the last 100 years. Hard to fathom, hard to think about, but that's what we're concluding. 1891, Sonoma, by where I live. I mean, developmental center. So they got the feeble-minded in 1883, and then they got this, the Agnew State Hospital, Santa Clara. This is Jesuit school. This is Santa Clara University now. They turned it over from a foundling school to the Jesuit school. And then down you see down here, this one here, this is up the road here in Sonoma. This is the insane asylum in Napa State. And they had 500 patients, and they had an underground railroad. For 500 patients, they had this building? No.
Do you think that was a power station? Because I see the horizontal red and white stripes.
Very well could be.
Yeah.
And there's your 5 domes again. You know, that power of 5 you're talking about. There you're talking about them again, the same designs. But my point, you know, how did you have underground railways if the thing was built in 1850?
Yeah.
It just proves the whole story nonsensical. And then burying the evidence, I get through the graves and sites where, this is up where I live, Mendocino. We got a population, we're the most spread out population in Mendocino County out here, but look at the massive insane asylum they had, because in 1889, there were so many insane people in Sonoma and Napa, they had to move them up here and build these incredible buildings. And the other thing to notice is the stairways. Notice the stairways always go up to the 2nd floor.
Yes.
Okay, that's where we're going to get into the mud floods. So did they use Wi-Fi frequencies to get rid of people? Yes. There's stories about people's eyes being bulged out in the middle of the streets. Did they use earthquakes? Yes. Did they use insane asylums and crematories? Yes. Did they use mud floods? Yes. They used them all. You know, 7,000 bodies found under this insane asylum, 10,000, 25,000 under this, unmarked graves. So here we have evidence of them purging them and not counting them. And here I get into the original question you had about the destruction.
Right.
So if they could use this frequencies modulation to help, they could use it to harm. And here we see them doing it today. Here's the 9/11 building.
Right.
If you think that thing came down in 104 stories in 10.3 seconds on its own footprint from jet fuel from an aluminum body that flew into a steel reinforced building, heavily steel reinforced, and brought it down in 10.3 seconds, you're wearing a mask.
Right.
You're completely brainwashed. And here we have pictures. These are pictures that I have and took some of them from the directed energy weapons that are used in Santa Rosa, that are used down in Malibu. Directly, look at this house cut in half.
Right.
The house is cut in half. Cannot happen with forest fires when the trees are still standing. A house cut in half. Come on.
Right.
Cars completely torched and flipped on their roofs. This is not forest fires. So what did they do with the bones, Charlie? They buried them because they use them for energy. This is where skull and bones comes about. They only use the femurs and the heads. 200 miles underneath Paris alone with catacombs, 200 miles of skeletons, because they use the energy to harvest the souls, to bury the souls so they can't resurrect. This is what the game is about. It's about stealing our souls right now. And here you see the Club 322, Skull and Bones, all the members' presence. But look at underneath. And here I do a population of Paris. And you can see the population, 228,000. Yet they're saying 250,000 people or more are buried under the ground. And so that would take a whole year's worth of people.
Right.
It would, so it doesn't make it any sense. And then they're all lit up, elaborate design, crosses, and not only under Paris, but we find they're under Lima, Peru, 70,000. We find they're under Wall Street. All the Black Moors they used, the slaves, they buried them under Wall Street, under the bones, because they're harvesting the energy of the bones. And then here we see the destruction of Tartarian structures. This is that 47-story crown of jewels being destroyed in 1916, right after the 1915 San Francisco exhibition.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Why did they take them down? Now that the site is Chrissy Field, which is just grass.
Right.
There's nothing there.
That's
So
right.
they took it down to leave nothing, which
Right.
makes no sense whatsoever. And then we see again the Rottag fires and all the fires, and you see now these days all the churches catching fire, Notre Dame, and all the rest of them. This is all still part of the destruction. We're seeing the continued genocide on a mass scale. Hey, the Great Fire of London, what year was that? September 6th, 1676. What's the V for Vendetta movie about? The destruction
Yes.
of London, V for Vendetta,
Right.
same date. They're telling you we did it and we're going to do it again. And then we see I go through the history of fires. Kasparov, the chess master, he
Right.
gets it. What happened to all the population? Where did they all go? And then all the different words they use to mitigate, opaque, and diffuse our knowledge by calling them all different names of Muslims, Orthodox, Cathedra, Catholic, Renaissance, Chinese. All of these were Tartars, Tartar 14th century. I mean, all of it. And then I get into the numbers. How did they get rid of tens of millions, hundreds of millions, billion? Well, we just do a chronological short history from 1200 up till now, and we can see 30, 40, 80, 100, 137, 38. Let's call it 148. Let's call it 248.
Yeah.
Let's call it 300. 300 million right here.
Right.
Okay. 300 million just in this one surface look at the destruction. And so then we can also get to the patent office and see back in 1904, they had the electromagnetic gun. They had the Wi-Fi energy to do that. And then we see the Jesuit reduction movement coming all through South America, destroying all the technology and all the cultures with the Inquisitions, all the knowledge. The Renaissance is only 500 years ago, was the Dark Ages. No information got out. Great Fire of 1776 in New York. Great Fire in New York again. Great fires everywhere. Just Google Great Fire. You can just look up Boston, Great Fires.
Oh, yeah.
And we see the destruction. San Francisco earthquake. That wasn't no earthquake. That was Wi-Fi. That was frequency modulation. The same thing we're seeing today, directed energy weapons, is the same thing we saw in 1906. Same thing we see in China. Look at these torch rail cars from 1906. Again, same exact profiles. It's nothing new under the sun. Then we have the Russians killing off the Russians, the Homodor event, when 10 million innocents. This is when they all fled Stalin. They went down to work in Germany because Stalin was purging them through starvation and whatnot. And then the carpet bombing, Kurt Vonnegut's book, what was it called? About Dresden, and the carpet bombing of Dresden.
Right.
How they went over and over and over again, because Dresden was one of the capitals of the Tartarians, and they wanted to get rid of it at all costs. What was Kirk Vonnegut's book? I'll think of it in a minute.
Was that Fahrenheit 451?
Yeah. Well, that's one of them. Slaughterhouse 5 was the one.
Slaughterhouse 5. That's this one. Yeah.
It's
That's that.
Fahrenheit 451. If you watch the Fahrenheit 451 trailer or watch the little 20-minute documentary, you should watch that, because it's about Ben Franklin being the original fireman, and the firemen put out books. They go with their fires and they burn books, because books are knowledge that's corrupted knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
It's like fake news. They're calling books. So it's interesting. They got this Fahrenheit 451 movie coming out about burning all the knowledge, because they're doing a great reset again.
Yeah.
They're going to do it with us again. So here you see Dresden just pulverized with the same things you see in Paradise and California here, the same kind of profile, same kind of MO. And again, I get through just at the end of the book, just listing all over the world. You can just scroll down, just all hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these Tartarian, beautiful, elegant, incredible structures. Yeah, there's an energy one. See the red and white there?
Mm-hmm.
Look how beautiful those are.
That's right.
And then all the exhibitions that were after that. And just to show people, you know, this isn't just some one-off or something that just came about. These were just within our wheelhouse of 100 years ago. And I didn't get into, let me just pull that up real quick, because one thing to finish on the this is another significant event that ties into what we were talking about earlier about California. And this is a map that is very important. It's the New California. You see the Louisiana Purchase. Look at Spanish Louisiana. This is from 1810. And you can see the New California, New Album. You see the island, which was filled in then. And then you see why this is disputed territory up here. You see how California is in behind you. Remember that map?
Right.
It dovetails almost perfectly with all the lands that are written in down below here, but the ones above it are considered disputed territory up there.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see the Confederate flag with the Roman gold and silver. I mean, they've owned this since the beginning. The White House is named after Andrew White, the first archbishop to land on the boat called the Freemason into Jamestown. And that's why the White House is called the White House. Rome, Maryland used to be the name of Maryland before it became Washington, D.C. The Potomac River used to be called the Tiber River. So what I want to show here, not the railroads, was the earthquakes that came about. Oh, this is the other thing that's cool, is the civilization that existed before. So we didn't get into the mud floods. So let's do that if we got time.
Let's do that real quick, because that'll be.
Let's see where I am before this. Okay, so this is the liquefaction events, the mud floods, and it's called Antiquitech, the old ancient technology they're calling Antiquitech.
Mm-hmm.
I've embraced that term, but that's what some people are using. So the life that lived below in the Egyptian pyramids, they used to be below. This is the eagle, the man, the sphinx, the phoenix, and the bull. It's all the 4 love signs of astrology. But we see all over the world these buildings that start at the 2nd floor, like we showed earlier, that had stairways going up to the 2nd and 3rd floors because there was great floods everywhere. We see buildings with half buildings, half windows everywhere. Why are they only half floors? Because there wasn't vents that filled it in. And we have evidence on evidence on evidence of these massive mud floods. And before that, the civilizations existed 200 feet below. California had 200 miles of shoreline that was 200 feet below. If you look at a Google map of the California shoreline, you could see where it was. Mm-hmm. And this is what brought everybody over in 1849 on the gold rush, was the water receded during this great cataclysmic events where the waters up in Wyoming flooded the Great Salt Lake. It fled out through the Grand Canyon, destroyed all the temples down there. And then the island ceased to be of California. But this was underground. This is in Japan. This is all over the world. We see these underground civilizations, pyramids, underground, under 200 feet under the ocean. I mean, this is what used to exist. This is what used to be before these cataclysmic events. Oh, and this is what I was getting into, the Great Reset of 1811 to 1812.
Right.
Check this out. 2,000 earthquakes in the central Midwest, between 6,000 to 10,000 earthquakes in Missouri, where the New Madrid, New Spain, is located. Remember that map on Spain before?
Yes.
This is right where it happened. And they had so many earthquakes that it ranks as the largest in the United States as the settlement by Europeans. So literally the Midwest was flooded out the Mississippi River with these 6,000 earthquakes. And they said you could even hear the bells even rang in Philadelphia. Here, the tremors caused Eastern Seaboard, the tremors caused church bells to ring in Boston and Philadelphia. All the way from the Midwest, the earthquakes were felt that rang bells in the East Coast. That's how powerful. And we had in 1811, we had all these comets. Bright comets appeared before the sky, 260 days. We had the day without the summer, the winter without a summer along the East Coast in 1812. They couldn't grow any foods. And then we had here, I'm talking about the island of California. Right. There's over 250 maps in Stanford University on islands of California. California, as I said, was an island up until the 1920s. And then what got everybody to come out to California for the gold rush was literally when the waters receded from the Sierra Nevadas, gold was literally sitting on top of the land. You could literally pick it up off the land. You didn't need picks. That's what brought people from China, because you literally pick it up. And that's what got the Jesuits to come in 1850s. When the water receded enough, they could make the transfer, and then they took over. And this Wonder Woman, the whole story about Wonder Woman and stuff, this comes from Queen Khalifa. This comes from the whole story of the Amazons of Paradise Island. Well, what are they reclaiming now in California? They're reclaiming paradise with all the attacks. It makes total sense. And here, a very, very high-end hotel, the Mark Hopkins, has a mural of Queen Khalifa in the building itself.
Right.
And it showed over 1,000 ships, and that she ruled. She was benevolent. And, you know, California's coastline. Here's a picture of it. You can see the coastline here, 200 miles further out. And you can see the Fertile Crescent, why the first Crescent Valley of California became the agricultural land, because it was just recently the sea. You know? And so we have all this evidence that it used to be Joe Montana. And the California floods, nobody knows about this. California flood, 1862, it flooded, 10 feet of rainfall in California in 43 days. 10 feet of rainfall in 43 days.
Yeah.
In 1861, the governor of California Leland Stanford had to rule out of San Francisco because Sacramento was under 10 feet of water for the entire year. That was the water basin. That's where the Fertile Crescent is. That's where the food grew. So once this receded, then they redid all the buildings, and then they told the story about the, you know, but here are the Jesuits. I get into the whole Jesuit founding, how the Jesuits have been here forever, and how they came here back at Knights of Malta in 1849. The Knights of Malta were in San Francisco. They were in Santa Clara. They were already here in 1849, folks. Remember that picture I showed you of the causeway, the aqueducts, you know, 8 stories.
Yes.
Well, here we have the Knights Templar, Golden Gate Commandery, 1849, already is 1883, already stoned, already set in stone, and already were here. So this just gets into their whole story, his story. This was the Knights Templar in 1934 in San Francisco. I kind of focused on San Francisco because it's kind of hometown and I know it well. And just, you can go through any city pretty much and find these same kind of narratives going on all over. And again, the fires. What happened? The Great Fires in San Francisco, 1850 Great Fire, 1851, 1833, you know. How did all these fires happen? Because they got rid of them. They wanted to get rid of, they kept what they wanted, and then the kings and all the rulers that ruled. But again, it was the women and the elegant designs of the women. The women were elegant. And again, also we found that these toppers, these hats they wear, the tiaras, were also Wi-Fi energies as well, Charlie. They had frequencies in them, and they could connect the source.
The one in the middle, the lady in the blue dress, I've measured that geometry, and it matches that of the pyramid.
Yep. And that we actually found a headdress with the frequency with the copper and the magnet wire. I'll see if I can find that. But after I did this, I found some hats that actually had those in them. So they were connected to source. They were all about consciousness. And again, the American history. This is another huge revisionist history. The Black Moors were here. They didn't get, the slavery trade was not. Here's all the pictures of the native copper-colored people, copper color, not blacks, not Negroes, not anything else, copper. That's why the South Americans, Central Americans, it was America. It was one America. It wasn't all divided up like it is now. And then they convolute it and confuse us by using terms like, make America great again. Well, you're talking about Central America? No. South America? No. You're talking about Canadian? No. I'm talking about making America great again. Oh, you mean the white men of North America? Yeah. Okay. Those guys. Yeah. Okay, good. That's how they confuse us all the time.
Sure.
We don't know where our language betrays us. That's why when we tell people to go to hell, we say hello. When we get up, we're asleep and we're at a funeral. That's why it's a wake. That's why it's a good morning. It's all in our language. That's why we go to school like fish. It's all betrayal. All right, so here's, again, the Black Moors' identity. And I just went through all the pictures in Egypt where they cut off all the noses because they didn't want everybody to know the Black Moor history. They didn't want to know the Black Tartarians. So there's giant Tartarians, there's white Tartarians, and then there's the Black Moors who were here before. And then the transatlantic slave trade went the other way. here's the populations, imports by region. They're saying that in 1450 to 1900, 4 million slaves came over on boats. And I did the whole thing, how many boats they could make in a year, how many slaves they could get across. I think I have a chart here too. I did all the pictures of how many could fit in a boat. They would have to have 43,750 trips
Oh my.
to make up how many people actually came over.
Right.
Here we see the names, the Washitas of Louisiana, all the names, these are all part of the Black Moors of the Washitas. So they're saying 4.25 million in African ships came across to Brazil and Mexico? I don't think so. Here's the manifests. Here's how many actually came. Nowhere near the numbers they say. And then again, here's where they did all the imports. And on a flat earth map, this makes total sense because Africa is right next to South America, and then they'd go up from here. But here's how they said Brazil getting this massive amount of slaves coming into Brazil. No, it's just all a huge lie. And they were here before Columbus. Here's the Toltecs with the big lips and the ears, big stones. We don't know how they built them. And then here's all the pictures of the African leaders. And then they dressed, Charlie, they dressed to the nines. They were natty dressers. They all, look at the beach. They're all wearing top hats. The kids, they're all dressed beautifully.
Right.
It's fun. The carriages, the baby carriage, excuse me, were absolutely elegant. And then again, here's these maps again, showing that here's the circle, and they show griffins. They show all these centaur, half humans, half horses. They were all real. Yeah, I really encourage everybody to get into this map, this 1587 map, the David Rumsey map collection at Stanford. It's 10 foot tall. It's one I got in my background here. And you just get into this and you just see all the different, there were unicorns, there were griffins, there were centaurs. They could create. And what's interesting about our 15th chromosome is it matches exactly the missing chromosome of us in animals. And so literally we've been chimeraed, we've been genetically modified. And that can get all the way back to the Anunnaki and those stories there. So again, the flat earth maps showing the Tartarian empires. Here's Louisiana where they owned. Here you can see the nymphs, and here you see the Knights of Columbus, the Knights of Malta. Were coming in and learning from the Tartarians. And then here you can see the pictures of the griffins and the lizards. And here's the head of a lion, or body of a lion, head of a human. Here's the unicorn. Very, very detailed. And then we get into the star fort. So that about covers it.
Yeah. I got a couple of case study examples that maybe would be helpful for people. One is the Mormon Temple in Salt Lake. I've looked at that. It, of course, has the geometry. That's why I'm interested in it. But it also has the characteristics of the mud flood. The building has the lower floor windows are literally just peeking up from the bottom. They've done excavations I think it was in the 60s, and they're doing another renovation now. And in both cases, they've brought the earth out from around the building, and you can tell that there was another entire floor of that building that was underground when they supposedly built the temple. The stairways are only a portion of where they going up, because they're at ground level. Once they dug out, there were deep holes there where there was formerly looks like an excavation where there was a stairway going down a lot further to obviously a much lower ground level.
Yeah, that's what I'm bringing up now. This is loading up now, but this is a great site. All right, so again, here's that map we were talking about in Granada. It used to be Granada. That's from Spain.
Okay.
You can see the 1810 map. The old world, Spain took a lot of land from the Moors. The Nagas, that's where the word niga comes from, the Nagas, which means serpent. La Florida once covered several states. Granada has the same name as the pomegranate in Spanish. Fruit of Granada is their symbol of the promised land. So the United States was literally the promised land. And the Amaro Washitu Degdumandias, the Moors, were originally a group of priests from Egypt of the West, also known as the Dogon, Olmecs, and Mayans. The term Washita is a corruption of Urshita. So I get into the whole thing of Mura. America, America. Ka is the Egyptian word for energy healing.
Okay.
And then you see Puta, Judah, Utah. Puta, Judah, Utah, which covered Mexico and several states in California, Utah, Nevada, Arizona, Oklahoma, Missouri, and Texas. Kind of a big area. Oh, we have Luxor in Memphis, Tennessee. Why are 20 cities in the United States named Moscow? So all the names, the Moabs, Moab, Utah, Morocco, India, they all exported that from here. We were the center. Really cool, this whole story, which I got another book coming out. So
well,
again,
I can tell this is new information for me.
Yeah, no, this gets into the bald eagle holding 13 arrows, the Moorish seal. This Elbe wrote the book, The Return of the Ancient Ones. 85% of the blacks in America were already here before the slave trade. This means the suppressed history. It's got the links, it's got the notes. America, BC, alabaster egg of King Tut was found there. Remember we talked about Grand Canyon having all the Egyptian artifacts?
Right.
Here's your proof. Here's your proof. All the imperial bloodlines, they married with King Louis. They married into the throne, and then Europe eventually took over. That's how they used to do it. They'd marry into it, and then they'd take over. Ameria. So this guy, Henry Joseph Turner, has this land that he still has to this day, where it gets into a little further down here, the treaties and the agreements. Thomas Jefferson recognized them, the Washitas, and owning the land. And they actually have a United Nations documentation, National Archives, and elsewhere that confirm the Washington Moore presence right here in North America land thousands of years before the arrival of the first Europeans, called the Ancient Ones, geophysical mound builders, and the prior claim to land was never disputed. In fact, in an 1848 Supreme Court ruling, the U.S. government recognized that the Washita proper and Washita Terra included Florida's, that Supreme Court cases recognized their rights to these lands. And now they're starting to give them back. Did you see where they're saying that they're going to give 25 million acres to black farmers because Black Lives Matter?
Yes.
This is because of the settlement of this. The UN Declaration of the Rights of the Indigenous People, whose property was taken away from them, is now being given back, and they're giving it back as Black Lives Matter. And they're making it into something about giving them back the lands that were already there because the Supreme Court said they had to. The Supreme Court ruled that Washington had these lands that became effective in 1993. And this is the Indigenous People Act, the United Nations number 25, sovereign independent nation, 1781, there's that date. So you can see that this is how they took them over. The League of Nations, and they claimed their lands back. But this was the ancient Sumer, Samaria, Amura, America, Amuru. The original name America was Amuru according to the 1936 Webster's Dictionary. America is defined as an aboriginal or one of the various copper-colored natives found on the American continents by the Europeans. Isn't this fascinating?
This is absolutely fascinating.
So the Acadia, Canada, Wakanada, New Scotland, Nova Scotia, all the names are all derivatives. France, if you look up in this map up here, and you zoom in, this is Canada. I don't know if I can zoom in here, but it shows France, FRA. You can see it somewhere in here. Maybe it's down a little. You got to zoom in on this thing. I can't do on this, but it shows that France was here. Here's California. I mean, it just shows this all the naming of the European names came from here. Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
Everything's backwards. It's upside down and convoluted, because trying to make sense of it all, you have to stand on your head and look the other way.
Right.
Okay. And so they have this whole history, and what I want to just finish with here. I've done a second video, and I'm doing another one. The Iroquois, remember the Iroquois and the Holmes Treaty, the 5 civilized tribes?
Yes.
This is the name. These are the 5 civilized Christian tribes: Cherokee, Chickasaw, Choctaw, Creek, and Seminole. And all they did was say, oh, they were Indians. No, they were Washitas. They were the original Washita Moors. They just combined them all and just broke them up. And so you could never put it all together. America is defined as an aboriginal or one of the various copper-colored natives on the American continents by the Europeans. And so this whole naming, Merovingians, Sumerians, all these ancients, the Olmecs, all these ancients, they said, Olmec means Old Mexico. Well, that makes sense. Olmec, Old Mexico. Al Moroccan, Old Morocco, India. The Washitas were survivors of the Atlantis disaster. So the Olmecs were not from Africa. There have been no Olmec heads found in Africa. Anyway, so he goes on and he's got these books that I just ordered, but he's got a lot of history here. You can see Granada land is probably, I haven't gone through these yet, I can't wait. But here's a bunch of history, ancient Greek and ancient Roman America. I just ordered his books over here. San Francisco, I want to get into that one. I mean, these are all recent posts. These are all 2020s.
Yeah.
So here's a whole bunch of more information for us to go through. But he's got this book, America, the Promised Land, under books here. And so this revisionist history is something we need to add to the archives. America is the old world. And then this is the book I just ordered on this as well.
Oh.
So, I mean, the guy does his homework, or girl, whoever's doing this. Oldest pyramids, most pyramids in America. I haven't looked at this yet. This is new.
Right.
The Cholula is the biggest pyramid in the world. Did you know that?
No.
Almost twice that of the Great Pyramid. Cholula Pyramid is also a step pyramid. Step pyramids were the first pyramids. So this is in the Americas. Where is this?
They built a church on top. Wow.
Of course. Central and North America. I mean, I kind of wanted just to go around all the pyramids and just check them out. Just
sure.
Pyramids in America. Oh, this is right up your alley, Charlie.
You bet. You bet.
So yeah, so these are links. Largest Adobe pyramid in the world is Chihuahua, Peru. You know, and they got the ball courts and all these other types of pyramids out here, and all those have frequency resonance. You go down to that court and they say you could hear from any part half a mile away, you could hear just like you're standing next to somebody. I didn't know this. Spirit Cave mummy from Spirit Cave, Fallon, Nevada. 9,400 years old. Did not know that.
Oldest mummy in the world. Wow. Amazing stuff.
Yeah, it is. Here's all the pyramid lists right here. First of the Yucatan. Lists all the timing of the pyramids. This is awesome.
Right, right.
More homework. Anyway, so this side I found just absolutely fascinating. So I'll share this with you.
Oh, sure. Please do. And, you know, I think what this has done is to open up a whole new world for the people who are interested in pyramids to see that this has been, you know, actively hidden. And that was really what I wanted to do more than anything else, was to get that point across, that this information, and to sum up, maybe a good way to end for the listeners. With respect to the Tartarians themselves, you know, there is a declassified CIA document that points to the fact that the Soviet Union actively rewrote its history with respect to the Tartarian Empire, and that was a document written, I think, in 1957 that was declassified about 40 years later. So, you know, a question that I'd have for you, if the Soviet Union / currently Russian government, you know, or Stalin was interested and was successful in rewriting the history, we have to have been complicit. And I know you mentioned the Rockefellers and so forth. How were we you know, in the United States, how was our history rewritten such that we don't know about this?
Well, I mean, how far back? I mean, it just showed that apparently thousands and thousands of years ago, the history of us, you know, here, I was just bringing up that document for you. I just like to show people so we're not just blowing smoke up our butts.
Well, right, exactly. I'm trying to give them facts, you know, or places they can go to.
Let me just show you.
There you go. That's the exact paragraph I'm talking about. Yeah.
In other words, Tartar history was to be rewritten. This is from the CIA document, what, 1957? that was released just a few years ago.
Right.
Declassified 1998, created in 57. Yeah. All right. So, and here's the owl, and you know about the owl and the secret societies.
Mm-hmm.
So here it says, in other words, Tartar history was to be rewritten. Let us be frank, was to be falsified, CIA, in order to eliminate references to great Russian aggressions and hide the facts of the real course of Tartar-Russian relations. And this is no isolated case. In every Muslim area within the USSR, historians on orders of the Communist Party have rewritten history to distort the facts so that the Russians appear always in a good light. So they make the Tartarians the bad guy. They say they eliminate history because we don't want to put them in a bad light, and they admit to altering history. Right. So the United States there's only 56 miles of difference between Alaska and the Russian border.
Right.
You'd think if we're fighting with Russia, we'd have castles on castles and energy beams pointing at each other 50 miles away in Russia because we're going to attack Russia. That's where we go, right?
Yeah.
Unless that used to be the land bridge. Unless there used to be railroads underneath, which there are, tunnels under that area. And so the Tartarians were the Russians, were the Washitas. They came back and forth. They traveled anywhere. They were everywhere. And so you can't really say the United States of America until you say what America was. And this is what I think we're defining now, Charlie, is America was the Tartarians.
Right.
It's not North America, South America, Central America, it's all of it. That's why they called it America.
Right.
And they break it down into this, that, and the other thing. Oh, U.S., No, we're all part of this much greater her story of this benevolent society where everyone was equal, where giants ruled, where everybody lived in peace and harmony, and they used frequencies to keep everybody healthy and peaceful. And they used it for all this technology for good means. And this is where we're heading again. This is where, like I talked to you earlier about biomagnetic healing, using magnet healing, using power of magnets, power of attraction.
Right. Sure.
And so what we do now is, let me show you real quick. And you can see this mannequin I have in the back, and I have over 300 placements of magnets. So let's say, Charlie, you were having an issue with, here, I can just scan you and find it. This is called muscle testing. So I can ask questions of the universe, like, would it be okay if I have a session with Charlie today? Yes. My fingers will cross with a yes. My fingers will stay the same for the no.
Right.
Is
okay.
No. Is my name Jamie? Yes. My fingers will automatically, and you can do this way. Show me a yes. Show me a no. This is muscle testing, and you can try this yourself too, Charlie. You can ask questions of the universe. So let me just start this way. Put your hands up and your thumbs where your thumbs are even.
Okay.
Everybody can do this. So if you're listening here, I want you to try this because this will guide you for the rest of your life when, not if, when this comes to you. All right. So Charlie, twiddle your thumbs back and forth. Just separate them. Yeah, just you can move them forward, move them back, move them towards you and away, towards your chest, back and forth, whatever works. Okay, now stop and see if your thumb tops are even. Are they even?
Yes.
All right, now twiddle them again, and I'm going to give you a question for your thumbs. And when you ask the question, stop twiddling and see if one thumb has gotten longer than the other, okay?
If it's gotten longer?
Yep, or change. Twiddle, twiddle, twiddle. Now, separate your fingers. Just don't put them together. Just you want them to move around. Just let your thumbs move.
Oh, okay.
And then say, show me a yes. And then stop twiddling. Say, show me a yes. No, put them together. So you're going to do it like this. So here's my thumbs. Twiddle, twiddle, twiddle. Show me a yes. Show me a no.
I got it. Okay.
So your right one went longer?
Yes.
Put them back together. No, just stop and show they're together, so they're even. Okay, now say, do it again. Yeah, there you go. Now twiddle, clear your mind, clear your shoulders, go to your happy place. Now say, show me a no. Keep your eyes closed. Say, show me a no.
Yeah. Okay.
Which one's longer?
Left hand. The left thumb is up.
Do it again. Twiddle, twiddle, twiddle. Say, is my name Charlie?
My name is Charlie. Yep.
Put them together. Twiddle, twiddle, twiddle. Say, is my name Jamie?
My name is Jamie. Yeah.
Now you can ask the universe yes and no questions, and it'll work through you to whatever you have. Is this the right frequency for the pyramid? Is this frequency accurate? Is my thesis on this right? When I'm doing the Tartarian book, I was doing this all the time. Is this information correct? If I got a yes, I put it in the book. This is the spirit guides working through us. This is also about the grand conjunction happening in astrology that's opening up these portals of consciousness. So now you can ask the questions of the universe. You can do it this way. I can do it in prayer, my middle finger. Show me a yes, one finger gets longer. Show me a no, the other middle finger gets longer. Or I could do it this way, when a yes crosses over, show me a yes, show me a no. So now what I can do is I can scan people and I can find out issues and I can do placements based on issues and bring us back into harmony. Black is a pulling, attraction, feminine, divine, nurture, nature, magnet. It's pulling. Red is pushing. It's the male principle. It's pushing out. It's creative.
Okay.
So we push-pull action. So when we get a push-pull action, let me get bigger ones, are easier to look at. And what's the energy of the earth? 7.48 hertz. What's the energy of humans? 7.56. What's the energy of the ions? 7.68. It's all harmonic frequencies, all similar between the earth, between us, and between the sky. So here I have a black one, and here I have a red one. What attracts? Opposites, right?
Right.
There's a field of energy, right? Now, if I flip it over to red, it won't come together.
Right.
Why? Negative and negative make a positive, but a positive and positive make what? War. Male and male.
Right.
Male. Okay, but female does the same thing. It has the same energy. So there's two fields I've shown. One is resistance. One is attraction. And then the third field is universal energy. Okay, this is the ether. This is what we're talking about, the magnetite, everything. So here's metal. Okay, the red sticks to it. Wait, the black sticks to it too. So here's a third field of energy, the toroidal field. This is the energy that comes out through the North Pole, goes around the Arctic Circle like a speaker, and brings the energy up. And this is what the Tartarians were tapping into. The ancient Egyptians called it Ka. The ancient Chinese call it Qi. The ancient Vedics call it Prana. In the Western world, for subtle energy healing, the word is, what's the word?
For the energy?
Ka, Qi, Prana, what's our word for it?
Well, I might call it scalar waves. I don't know. I don't know where you're going.
We don't have a name for it.
Oh, well, that's it. Okay. That's the answer.
We don't want to heal, we want to profit. It's always about treating the dis-ease. Up until 1910, healing with magnets was considered the homeopathic healing until the Flexner report came out, whose brother was President Rockefeller, who came out and said, this is quackery to use magnets to heal, lodestones.
Right.
They use lodestones. So this is what we're doing now, is we're using magnets. So if I wanted to scan you, Charlie, for some issue, I would go, does Charlie have any issues we can help him with magnets today? Yes. Is the first issue dealing with the head, the neck, the thorax? So then I would get in my book and I'd look under thorax. I can do it right now. And this is, I just learned this a year and a half ago because I got attacked for all my work and I became, my legs got taken out and I learned, somebody turned me on to magnets and I got a hold of Dr. Garcia and took his training sessions. So now I've got a book on all the different placements that this medical doctor has put together on magnetic healing. And I'm going to look under thorax, and then I'm going to scan this list for Charlie. Charlie, how many issues on this page? Yes. Odd number, even number. 60 to 70, 70, 80, 70, 72. So this is dealing with a hiatus and a testicle, a bacteria, something to do with ulcers, gastronomical, or reflux. It could be something similar at symptoms at the cellular level. It could be symptoms on the surface level. And so I can go through for emotions. I can scan through physical issues, stomach, head, digest. Charlie have any issues in his head, his eyes, his nails, his throat, his heart, his respiratory. So I'm getting stuff around your throat. I'm getting stuff around respiratory. I'm getting stuff around smoking. Are you a smoker at all? Or have you smoked?
No.
Something to do with respiratory. So that's how I drill down into somebody.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Then I, on these placements, like for thorax, I would place it on Maggie here, and I could set these placements for healing with my intention.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to physically, I have the magnets already on there. So I'll say, okay, for this placement for Charlie, can you set that intention for 15 minutes? Yes. Is it set? Yes. Is there other placements? Yes. So then I would scroll through and find out what other placements are needed. And then I could do that. And then I could scan your brain. I could go through all your brain points, and I could scan all the brain points for traumatic brain injuries that people have. This is what I do regularly for heavy metal toxins. I don't know if you can see that, but these are all for spraying from geoengineering. We're using to detoxify. We're lifting artificial intelligence, magnets, with all these new vaccines, with all the RNA crap they're putting in them that have nanobots in them. We're able to mitigate some of the effects.
Right, not all. Yeah.
Of the nanobots, synthetic biology that's going in the vaccines, the mRNA. So we're having some answers. And so this biomag healing is a universal energy that anybody can learn to do. And it's non-invasive. If I do the placements wrong, it just simply doesn't work. I can't, unless you got a pacemaker, I can't hurt you.
Right.
So here's what the Tartarians use. This is their centers, but they did it in big cathedrals. They did it on big stages.
Right.
We're doing it one-on-one.
Sure.
I can do it remotely. In fact, you being in Pennsylvania, if I wanted to work with you, I would do scans of you and I would do placements here with my intention of helping you. And many times, most times, people get results. Sometimes significant, profound results. My dad had 95, had a cancer tumor. They're all medical family. They think I'm an absolute nutcase. And they all wanted to do surgery, 95 years old, surgery, immunotherapy, or radiation. We're trying to decide. I'm like, well, can I help? No, we don't want your help. Okay. And I had to ask permission. Can I help my dad? And came back, no. So here's a medical doctor for 30 years. My dad's got cancer. They're going to cut him up and all this. And I can help him, I know, but I'm not allowed to, because some people have to go through what they have to go through.
That's right. That is exactly right. Yeah.
We can't fix everybody. You have to ask permission to do this work, because you're working through the spirit guides. They're working through you. So then about a week later, he got immune therapy for his treatment. A week later, she called, well, you better come see Dad. It's not good. He's terrible. He's cold. He can hardly get up. His wife's a registered nurse for 30 years.
Yeah.
So I said, can I help my dad now? And I got a yes. So I went to work. I did my scans. I did about 30 placements. And the next morning, she sends out a blast to all her family. It's a miracle. Herb's up again. He's walking. He's got this new walker. It's amazing. The walker's made all the difference for him.
Yeah, the walker. Right.
Yeah. No, I sent her my workup. She's a medic. I mean, this book I work from in healing, and this, I get so excited because this is something everybody can do. This is Dr. Garcia's book of all the placements. There's over 300 placements of specific areas for different issues that we all can do on the vertebrae, on the back, on the neck, on the thorax, the abdomen, the pelvis, emotionals. We can go through these. This book is thick. So I go through this, and I found 30 to 40 placements. I found stomach cancer in them, and I did placement for that Dr. Garcia prescribed for placements. And next day, he's doing much, much better. He's now 4 weeks on. I've got about 5 sessions. I don't tell them when I do it. I ask permission if I get a yes, but it doesn't matter. As long as my dad's getting better, I don't need the credit. I don't need that. But I see it. I get confirmation. So with you muscle testing now, Charlie, you can ask any question. Like my son's coming up today. What time is my son coming? Is it going to be after 2? Yes. Before 3? Yes. Between 2 and 2:30? Yes. Before 2:15? No. After 2:15? Yes. 2:16, 2:17, 2:18, 2:19. I can almost guarantee you my son's going to show up at the front at 2:20, 2:19. That's how this stuff works.
Yeah.
And so we have answers now that are opening up. Just as the dark comes omnipresent and seems overwhelming, here are these amazing historical narratives of who we truly are and what our potentiality is to be able to be Tartarians once again.
Right.
You know, that's the beauty of all this. So we're the seeds of knowledge, as I call it. We're not going to see the fruits. We're not going to see the beautiful pipe organs played again and everybody living in peace and travel everywhere and not have to eat food because we don't need it. And all the animals get to survive and all the plants get to thrive. And we live in harmony and abundance with nature as was once. That would be awesome. But we're setting the table, which is the hardest work of any soul can do for the future of all to benefit from.
That's right. That's right. And I feel like, the work you're doing, and it's such a compliment with what I'm doing. I'm in a totally different field, but we have to think holistically. We have to think about the fact that these people knew the geometry. They knew how numbers and geometry and harmonics created our environment and kept us healthy, kept us well for a long time, gave us free energy. So it's all fascinating. And I really do want to thank you today for taking the time to be with us. And I think a lot of people have learned a tremendous amount. One thing I'd like to do before we finish up, would you please tell people where they can get your book, and also if they are interested in healing sessions, for example, how they might get in touch with you.
Sure. Let me just pull up. Just want to show one more thing before we sign off.
Oh, okay.
So this lady stayed with me for a week, 5 days. Name's Sarah, I think. This was about 4 years ago. And she's what's called a breatharian.
Yes.
She hasn't eaten in 7 years. There she is. Sarah. So Sarah stayed with me, and we had an amazing conversation. And it's part of it. She meditates every day, and she learned that she's on an emotional level, no longer living in fight or flight. She doesn't have to eat. She went through a down period. She had to go through it, and then she came out. And there's actually prana conventions now of people that don't need food. So again, can we photosynthesize like plants? Can we be as smart as animals? All these things are things that we're learning about. But I just wanted to show that there are, what we say, there are people that are doing this work that we're talking about doing. People are already doing that. So this is my website I created. I'm calling it Organic Self-Healing Store, because everybody can do this to yourself. Notice the bottom, the key to universal healing is frequency, energy, and vibration. If you click on this link down here, it goes to my website. And on that website, I list just a plethora of information about learning about biomag healing, about the history of magnets. Franz Anton Mesmer, where mesmerize comes from, he used magnets. As far as the store goes, a really cool thing too about Charlie, about magnets, it's harmonious with nature. So what I found was, these are the magnets here that we use for healing. These magnets here, you can get 2 of these magnets and you can stick them on each side of your washing machine drum, and you'll never need to use detergent anymore. Gets rid of detergent. So you can get some of these magnets here. This one, the structured water one, creates the structured water. You're talking about sacred geometry. That's what it creates. So
Sure.
If you look at the configuration of this, there's 4 pair of magnets inside this sleeve, and you put it on the water, and immediately the iron, I have a well, and the iron went away. My hair got lighter. The dogs would only drink this water. The laundry, the clothes got softer. And again, this you can put over your water intake and immediately improve your water. I offer a 6-hour self-healing webinar that you can download. This is Dr. Garcia's book I was just showing you, the Practitioner's Guidebook. Okay, these are creams that this other doctor, medical doctor, Dr. Rin, developed, and these are amazing. A lot of our issues are mold related, and so this Myco 3 helps with mold. This Ultra Cream, women buy this. It's expensive, but it's amazing how much younger their skin gets. The skin, the wrinkles and everything, unbelievable. And this Ultra Cream, this pain relief for the back, the Sarah Cream, all sorts of pain issues and whatnot. So that I'm going to keep expanding that. I'm doing magnetic beds. Magnetic agriculture is a huge business. I got 30 to 40% greater yields in my crops this year by putting magnetite in the soil and magnetizing the seed starts. And so I was able to grow a lot better. And it's known, but not well known, that magnets can improve crops by a major way.
Sure.
All right. So then under services, I offer to remote heal, $250. I do 3 sessions, and I scan you and do placements for you. And then also educational webinars. This is Dr. Garcia, who I learned from his talks, and then also do astrology readings because it's all connected as well. And then as far as the books go, I don't think I've added the Tartarian book on here yet, but These are the books I have. This is Paradise Lost. This is about the California fires. You can get on Amazon. It's also free on my website. I'll share the link with you, aplanetruth.info. I put all these books out for free because this information needs to get out. These fires were not forest fires. Flat Earth, here's my Flat Earth book, Geoengineering, and then the Tartarian book I've got to add on here as well. But they're all on Amazon under James W. Lee.
Right.
You can find those all.
Interestingly enough, one of my readers, after I did the show last week and mentioned your book, called me on Monday and said she already had the book. And I said, how did you get it that fast? It's on a website called onelib.org. It's a public access library. I didn't know if you knew that, but it's.
Oh, no, I didn't know that. It's really fun to find when I can find these people that have copied it and shared it, and then other people pick it up, because that's my intention.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never had so many the Tartarian books since I started selling October 11th. I've sold over 600 copies.
Yeah, yeah.
Far and away more than I've sold of any other book. So this is like lighting a fire under people, like, people that want to know, they're kind of on the edge of this alternative narrative. And then we get this, but I'm on the back of all these other people that have done all the work. I just put it into a condensed, unified version that we could get an idea of what we're learning about, and then just to learn about Utah and all this, a whole nother sidebar, not sidebar, but main bar, to who we are, who we really come from, and what we're about. And then we find about magnets, and that we can heal people remotely, and it crosses all racial barriers. Children can do it. My son has not been the smartest kid in the room, and we've always had tutors for him. And then I did these placements for ADHD, for shyness, whatever. And a week later, he got the second highest score on his class. And this is a Waldorf school. This isn't classes. Wow. And bedwetting, he had issues with bedwetting younger. I did a couple placements, never wet his bed again. Yeah. He had 103.7 temperature. Within a day, I'd been able to bring that down to 99 using magnets. Mm-hmm. And so this is very, 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 very beginning of this universal healing protocol. That's right. It dovetails perfectly into the magnetricity of what the Tartarians are all about.
Well, and just as a similar context, I mean, the Russians have done all this research with these pyramids. They've shown dramatic reductions in infectious diseases, cancer, you name it. And so all of these technologies obviously were available in the past, and they were put to good use. So it is our job, and hopefully our joy, to rediscover all of these topics and areas of healing going forward. So anyway, again, I want to thank you again for your time. And as always, to those listening, tell your friends about Stargate Pyramids and the Pyramid Science Foundation. And thank you again, Jamie, for being with us today.
Charlie, thank you. It was a pleasure to go over it all. I'm glad you're as interested as I am in this stuff. It's awesome.
Oh, I'm amazed. And I hope we can do this again. Thank you.
Thanks, I will. Have a good day.